Hey, we're live.
Okay.
Let's do a little dance. Let's do a little dance to celebrate because I need to dance.
I need I need a little bit of.
Okay. So, Tiana and Orion, we can't see your faces. We can only see the best parts of you when we're watching.
It's a good view.
Wonderful.
Hey.
Perfect. Okay, welcome. Finally, I had a few technical difficulties. I'm sweating a little from the positive stress, as Claire would say. So here we are. And I will introduce myself today. We're going to talk about sex at a distance, all kinds of sex at a distance that we can think of to talk about. My name is Lila. I'm an intimacy expert. I create the Horizontal with Lila podcast, which is recorded while lying down right next to each other wearing robes. 2 out of 3 of my guests today have been on the podcast. The third is a future guest. And let me intro Claire. Claire is my future guest. Claire is the author of the memoir, Finding Fuck Yes. You hold up the book.
Yeah. Yes.
About sluttiness and play and exploration and diabetic life and insulin.
Yeah.
Welcome, Claire.
Thank you.
And I have Tiana, the Glittersaurus. She's coming back up right now. She is a queen of cannabis and kink. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, we had a little technical difficulty. This is my.
She's the co-host of the Pass the Porn experiment. And certainly, oh, there she is. We'll be able to see her in a moment. There she is. Mwah. And I also have Leidy Dahiana, a sex and life coach specializing in the erotic blueprints and all-around delicious human being. I have a few announcements. There is a virtual intimacy retreat this weekend, May 8th through the 10th. I'm putting the link in the bio. I'm going to be facilitating a workshop, an Art of Trust, Connection Games Across the World Platonic workshop, which I am very excited about. And that is among a huge lineup of incredible, connective, sensual, and some sexual events, including a virtual play party and a cock worship workshop. So there's all kinds of possibilities for getting intimate in the way that we can right now at this virtual intimacy retreat. Trying to put that link. It's all the way up at the top of our chat, and then I'm trying to put it in the link. So there's nothing I can do about the connectivity issues right now, unless I restart. Just a little nervous about doing that at the moment. So I will wait until someone else is taken over and chatting. There's a sliding scale for this intimacy retreat. There are some volunteer slots available, and I will try to put the link in the chat again. Episode 106 is live right now for my patrons with Ari and Jay Cardos. You can become a patron in May, and I will send you a handwritten thank you love letter from Bali. You know you want it. I would show you my handwriting because it's fucking incredible. Info about everything horizontal. What was that? What was that? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear us? Yeah.
Okay.
We can
Great.
see you.
Info about everything horizontal and the mailing list are on horizontalwithlila.com. So I have a premise for approaching live video sex. I'm approaching virtual sex. I'm really thrown off by the connectivity issues. I'm really, let me just be honest that I feel super stressed about the fact that I can't get this video to work, and I would like to cry, but we're still going to talk about virtual sex, and it's going to be great.
Yeah. We're here with you, girl. We're here.
Thanks, Phoebe. Okay. As we begin to think about having a virtual sex encounter, I think it's nice to start with a little laughter and a check-in. Yeah, so where we are at the moment, feeling words, sensation. And if you want Facebook, if anybody wants to pull up that link and stick it in the chat, I would be appreciative. And I suggest creating a container.
Ooh,
and
juicy.
this is related to agreements as well. One of the things I love to do before attending a live sex party, before having an encounter that is unusual for my partnership, is to do a boundaries, fears, intentions, and desires exercise. You can do it in a different order. I think it actually is great to start with fears. I like starting with fears, and then intentions, and then boundaries, and then desires. So you finish with all the juicy stuff, and you're like, yes, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. And then in making agreements around video sex, I think there's a few things to consider. Who gets to see this? Who gets to know that it happened? And then, are there privacy issues with your platform that you're using? And when making these agreements, you might want to consider, how would I feel if this were posted on the internet? Because it might be someday, you know? If you see. At a sex party, don't change your agreements mid-play when you're in the gotta get off brain.
Yeah. She's coming. She's coming. She's on her way.
Oh,
This is ready.
thank you.
You want to bring it a table?
I can just. This is like so apropos, though. I feel like for sex at a distance, because like connectivity issues are part of intimacy at a distance. Like it just is.
Yeah.
So.
And we can flip it, right? And make it about anticipation, that Lila is teasing us.
Yeah.
You know, and we're teasing the audience, and it's like not there yet, but we're there yet. So we wanted to be intentional. Yeah, I love anticipation. So it's like, oh my God, don't give it to me just yet. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And like being at the mercy of something outside of your control. Like it's situational. And like we're all at the mercy of the technology that's helping us connect all over the world and with each other.
Yeah. I think it builds patience and flexibility, right? Like it's like, and that's juicy.
Yeah.
Definitely. You have to communicate more.
Yeah. 100%.
And you have to like check in whether like what you have put out there is received too. Like there's that assumption that like once you've put it out there, it's received. And over technology, like I don't know, technology heightens that. Like, are you getting the message that I'm putting out there?
Yeah. There's a quote in communication. It says the biggest illusion in communication is the fact that it has taken place. Like you,
yeah. Oh my God. I'm putting that down.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm ready to turn my phone because I'm a millennial. So.
Yeah, do it. And I could be, you know, missing a word here, totally paraphrasing.
It's beautiful though. Wait, can you say it again?
Yeah. The biggest illusion in communication is the fact that it's taken place, that it has taken place.
Illusion. I love that.
I was like, oh, my initial relationships. Like, I thought I was being clear.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot.
Should we play with a plan B of our lovely
we have, let's see, I have her notes. So
okay.
Oh, hey.
let's see.
Like How can we support her and be yummy while we're live?
Well, one thing is that people like episode 106 is up for patrons. I'm just going through Lila's notes now. Mailing list, horizontalwithlila.com. Get on. It's delicious. Get on the mailing list. Maybe somebody can put that in the chat. Yeah. And so then she was talking about like checking in, agreements, who's seeing this, etc. Oh, okay. And the next thing was decide on a medium of where it's going to happen. And Lila's list for the mediums were love letters, which I love. Has like anybody else read Joyce's letters to his wife? They're like, oh my gosh, James Joyce, who wrote smut. Like James Joyce, who wrote like Dubliners and all of that, wrote like amazing smut in the 1800s. It's incredible.
Wow. Fancy.
Sexy selfies and nudes, sexting, phone sex, Snapchat, mini porn, live video sex, cybering, which I thought cybering was video sex, so now I'm confused, which is good. I'm going to learn something.
Yeah.
Virtual sex parties. So those were the mediums. Does anybody have any other mediums to add?
Is there quantum sex?
What is that? What is quantum sex?
Like it's in the quantum field, right? So it's beyond our bodies. You don't need the medium is the wavelength.
Oh.
So you can like fuck yourself with a thought or fuck yourself with your vision for your business. Like let your financial goal dom you or you dom it, like that kind of
Sexy.
No connectivity needed. Like alignment.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys want to play there?
Okay.
Oh my god.
Does somebody know the difference between cybering and like what cybering actually means? Because I'm realizing in this moment that I don't know what that actually means.
Versus virtual sex?
Yeah. Like what the difference between those two is.
If I had to take a stab in the dark and I have no knowledge of what this is, like one is using maybe an avatar instead of like your actual face-to-face. You're using like your persona, you know, your simulacrum of like who you want to be. And so you're having whatever desirable interaction through that persona instead of like how we're connecting right now. And if I was like going off on myself.
Yeah.
That's just a stab in the dark. I have no idea.
John in the comments said you nailed it. So I Second Life, like IMVU and Second Life are both cybering platforms. So cool. I had no idea. That's exciting. And then
I was wondering if it had something to do with like those new vibrators where like you can like control it from like you get like a male-bodied person can get like a sleeve, and then the female-bodied person can use a vibe, and then what one person does it's the other vibrator from like, you know, the second.
I had a long distance partner that we used to use one of those together where like we would actually be having Snapchat sex and he would be controlling my vibrator from Montana while I was in New York. Yeah. He's the person that I'm reading about in the book.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Yeah. Then Lila had some aftercare like thoughts in terms of like incorporating aftercare into like just as you would in a physical embodied person-to-person sexual encounter, having that be part of any kind of distance virtual sex, eye gazing, cradling genitals, sharing sexy highlights, favorite moments, and like making sure that you incorporate the pieces that you would in a positive in-person sexual encounter into your distance encounters as well.
Hey,
is back.
Hi.
I've been going through your list with your beautiful handwriting.
Amazing. Where are we?
We just were talking about aftercare, and we were about to go into tips and tricks and best practices.
Perfect. Yeah.
We wanted to know your definition of the cyber versus virtual sex.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
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 We'll talk about that when we get to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But let's start with selfies and nudes. So myself, I would shoot from above for the most flattering angle, or from below to make things look bigger. I would consider keeping your face out of the shot if you're thinking about the fact that, you know, it might end up somewhere on the internet someday. Right?
Yeah.
What else? What other tips do you have for nudes, BBs?
I mean, I love embracing a filter, particularly silly filters, because I like adding a bit of levity as well. Like, I like the mix of silly and sexy. So, like, I like adding like the bunny ears or the like cat whiskers or whatever. Like, I think there can be a lot of fun there. And it also helps in terms of like facial identifying stuff. Like masking in ways that are kind of fun and playful if you do want to include your face. Like, I'm all about adding the silly.
Yeah. Can you do that? Is there an app for that? There must be an app for that.
I mean,
Snapchat is really great for that. Instagram also has its own face filters that it stole from Snapchat. And my recommendation is, if you are concerned about, you know, someone screenshotting or saving your images, if you just want to do a temporary kind of like share, then that is available now. Like Snapchat, it tells you if someone screenshots or saves your image. So that way you know what actions they're doing on their side of the camera, and you could be like, oh, I actually am not okay with you doing that. And, you know to either like not send that person anything else anymore, or like now that they've respected that, you know, go ahead with caution. And then there's other encrypted apps, like Kik is a good one that you can kind of share and like use a screen name instead of your number, so you're sort of protect yourself in that way. And then Signal allows it to be like it disappears after 5 minutes, so it kind of allows you to, and you can't screenshot the messages, so it kind of again gives you that extra protection of like, hey, I'm sharing this naughty thing, and then it like goes away forever.
Yeah. Samia suggests that it's a lot of fun to tease in the pictures, so you don't quite show the goods at first, and you send photos over the course of an entire day where a little bit more is revealed each time.
Nice.
I like that a lot. Let's move on to sexting. And for this, I want to kick it off with a reading from Claire's book, Finding Fuck Yes, because Claire has a little bit of experience with the sexting.
Yes. So yeah, my book is called Finding Fuck Yes, a memoir of orgasms and insulin. And I'm going to read you the opening of chapter 15, which is called Chemistry on and Off the Screen. The botanist and I didn't see each other again for quite some time. He was away with family when I was away with family. He was working when I was in rehearsal. While we were apart, we struck up a lively sexting relationship. I love sexting when it's done well. Much of my early sexting expertise was honed with the botanist. Good sexting is subjective. The botanist and I had chemistry both in bed and on our iPhones. He was as generous with his words as he had been with his hands, and we explored our fantasies together through the safety of distance and technology. On one particularly memorable evening, he texted me while at a formal dinner with his family in Chicago. I love a man in a suit, and I'm also a sucker for a man who knows designer clothing. This doesn't exactly align with my anti-capitalist feminist sensibilities, but like most of us, I'm a mess of contradictions. This particular evening, the botanist wore a red silk Hermes tie, and he sent me a picture. Not a full selfie, just his wry smile, neck, and chest. As he sat with his family, I texted all the things I'd like us to do with that tie. We started with me leading him to the bedroom, then explored binding my hands, blindfolding me, and tying me to the bed. That tie drove our imaginations wild. As we explored the possibilities of this one article of clothing, I told him what I wanted to do to his body, and he told me what he wanted to do to mine. This is one of my favorite aspects of sexting, particularly with someone I have little to no sexual history with. Sexting is a safe way to explore and course correct when desires don't align. If someone I'm sexting talks about calling him daddy and how he would love to see me choke on his cock, I know we might not be seeking the same experience. However, that isn't always the case. Sometimes a guy just watches a lot of porn and has certain sexual scripts hardwired into his brain. With a little coaxing, we can land on a fantasy that is mutually fulfilling. Then, if and when we ever do get naked together, we have a baseline of what we are and aren't into to start us off. I've sexted men I've never met. I've sent nudes to men I've never met, will never meet, and now have totally forgotten. I acknowledge that this was a risk and could totally come back to bite me in my bare nude-sending ass. When we're punished for our bodies every day, most days, I love my body, but we've had a complex, antagonistic relationship with one another over the decades. Sending sexy nudes was an essential part of healing my relationship with my body. My nude self-portraits and my choice to share them for the enjoyment and gratification of others made me feel powerful, sexy, and in love with my body. I chose the angles. I added filters when they were flattering and fun. I had agency over how my body was viewed and who I allowed to view it. And it was empowering and satisfying as fuck. I understand the realities of this digital world and how nudes are weaponized against women, but it is a risk I was and am willing to take. If someone is unwilling to respect me or any other woman after seeing us naked, that reflects poorly on them and their understanding of respect and worth. Sexting and sending nudes increased my sense of self-worth, and I know many other women have experienced a similar boost in confidence after owning and celebrating the representation of their sensual selves. The botanist and I sexted about me meeting him at the door in a silk robe, lace bra, thong, and thigh-high stockings with garters. We sexted about him fucking me on the kitchen table. We sexted about him blindfolding me with the Hermes tie and teasing me until I begged him to take me. We sexted about all of this as he sat at a formal dinner surrounded by his family. And then we brought those fantasies to life late one dark winter evening, several months after our first and only date.
Ooh. Ooh, yes. Yes. This speaks to a few of the things that I have, tips that I have, which are, I want details. If we are sexting, give me details. I want clothes. I want to know the environment. I want to know the sensations that you feel in your body and that you are giving to me. I want to know exactly where the fingernails are. I want to know what the position is. I want to know what vantage point we're looking at it from. I want to know all the details.
I wanna know. I wanna know.
So what other tips do you have on sexting? That was great, Claire. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've shared mine, so I feel like I want to open the floor to our other.
Yeah. Tiana?
We studied porn and poetry. Porn, poetry, and music.
Yes.
Those have been the things we've been sexting each other. Is like I'll be watching, porn, and I'll be like, oh, I think he'll like this one too. So I'll send him the link to like one of the porns that I've been watching, and then he'll like comment back on it
In detail.
And
I really can't wait till we, and I really want to, just like when we.
And then he's poetry, and then we send each other like songs that remind each other. So that's been our version of sexting. I feel like.
Samia suggests.
We love it.
sensory detail galore. Robin cautions against going too fast. And Samia says that Johnny and she used to text each other full erotic stories and bits and pieces, and they'd take turns. So they were collaborating on an erotic story.
Oh, that's so cute.
That sounds great. That sounds
Love that.
so great.
Yeah. I feel like you should also know, play around whether you want to listen to something or receive something or send something, that there's a difference. For example, I like to receive really like a sexual talk, which we'll go into with the game, but I don't necessarily want to express that. So just getting clear, do I want to hear it? Do I want to receive it? Or do I want to give it? And that not all sexting is sexual. Like if you're energetic, it might be about talking about the energy and your chamber and the temple, so that the language is also so specific to the person. And I thought I didn't like this kind of thing until I figured out, oh, there are some languages that drive with me and that I'd rather receive. So just really like combing it out and making it unique for you, as opposed to this thing that everybody does and you should do the same. So yeah.
Yeah, I celebrate that. Let's move on to.
I was just gonna say that there are also like that sexting is a safe place to explore things that you also don't ever want to bring to life. And so like you can throw things out there and be like, this is just in the confines of this digital world. Like this isn't something I want to bring to life, but it is something I want to imaginatively explore. And like, but being clear about those things, and like you said, with creating a container, like being clear around the container of like, and this is pure fantasy, and then this is a fantasy that I like want to make a reality.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And that's some distinction that I really like to make about fantasies, that they're not all things that we actually want to play out in real life. Some of them are just things we like to imagine.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And that they're not all to be shared. Like there's some fantasies that I just want to have in my head and I don't necessarily want to talk about them. I want to have the power of knowledge, like a power dynamic there, that some are to be shared and some are just to be enjoyed.
Samia suggests if you just want to receive, it's nice to tell the person what sensations their texts are creating in your body. Feedback is always appreciated, even if you don't feel up to driving the sexting forward.
Love it.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Describing the sensations in my own body that are being brought out by the words, I find delicious. Yeah. Let's move on to phone sex or voice memos. I think it's totally underrated. I have exchanged a series of voice memos with a very hot lover that I listened to for months afterwards. I listened to the whole conversation during several solo sex sessions, and it did it every time. It was so good.
Nice.
I love that you can do speakerphone, so it can be hands-free. And I have a few suggestions. I suggest you lower your voice. Just simply lowering your voice can do a tremendous amount. I also suggest you slow down. If you lower your voice and slow down, it's almost automatically more delicious. Describe your arousal. We were just talking about this with sexting, and it goes for voice as well, right? Describe the sensations slowly that are coming alive in you. Don't hold back the noises. You really want to be free with your vocalizations, because that is the medium. That's what you have to go on. I also really like doing the voice memos back and forth, because while you're waiting for a reply, you can repeat the previous one over and over and over.
More.
Any other suggestions or tips on phone sex or voice memos?
I don't, but I'm not sexy ones anyway. Mine are always very businessy. So
I'm a written
What do you
words
mean, Tiana?
person. I'm a like, that's why I wrote the damn book. You know, like, but I did have people respond. I like mixing the mediums. Like if I'm a written person, like sometimes people are about the voice memo, and so like getting a voice memo back, and like also sometimes you're in a circumstance where you can listen in a speaker, a headphone, or whatever, and the other person can only just read, or vice versa. So like I like mixing mediums, but I don't have much experience with sending the voice memos because I was more on the receiving end of those, and I respond with my text.
They're nice to receive, those voice memos. It just feels
Like
really
little
juicy.
gifts.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, I was about to type, but you're sending me a voice memo. And then I get in my head about, oh my God, but then they're going to start recognizing our voices. And then, so there's a little bit of sensual shadow there with the voice, you know, with all this technology, facial recognition, voice recognition. But definitely voice memos feed, because I can feel the person's energy. Sometimes emojis and words, you know, they may or may not have it. So for my personal preference, definitely voice memos are like, I don't know, it's like a total gift, like you say, Lila, like a little. You sent me one yesterday, which was really nice because I got to hear your voice, and it was like, it was nice. We weren't sexting, by the way.
Sometimes I can hear someone's voice though, you know, and you just get a nice response, and you're like, oh, you have such a lovely voice, and that could be just a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's flirty. We were talking about this, James, like flirtation. I don't know, we're friends or whatever, but there was something flirty about the way you sent me the voice memo, and it was sweet. So yeah.
I also love how it reduces. I love how it reduces the stimulus down to just the voice. And, you know, as a podcaster, I'm very interested in voice. And I love the fact it feels so intimate, because usually it's really close to your ears, which means it's really close to your face. And I feel like I live a lot here, you know?
That's lovely.
Let's move on. Let's move on to Snapchat. And Claire has some expertise on this. I've never done it, but what I know about Snapchat is that after a certain interval of time, the image disappears. How long is that?
So I haven't used Snapchat in like 3 years, but I was real big on it when I first moved to New York. And so there used to be some level of control in how much someone could keep the image. And I'm assuming that is still the case.
Yes, Robin said you set the time.
a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't know you can set your time. I still use it off and on, and it's once someone's seen it and you leave that conversation, it disappears. So it's kind of immediate unless you like save that image and then it like highlights and I can see that you've saved the image
And
that
was
I've sent you.
Why I started using it a lot for like nudes and videos and things like that is because I knew when someone was violating a boundary by screenshotting, because it told me that. And sometimes I had relationships with people where they were welcome to screenshot things, but then with other people I would know to cut off communication with somebody if they screenshotted when we hadn't established that boundary.
Yeah.
Robin
yeah,
says
exactly.
It used to function that way, and now you can set the time or something like that. So it might be functioning a little bit differently now.
Okay.
Do you have any tips for people who want to approach Snapchat sex?
You go first, Tiana.
I think it's great. Yeah. Oh, so mine is super quick. I think it's great. It's super easy to use. It's super intuitive. It's very similar to Instagram. So if you're an IGer, then it's a rudimentary version of it. And it allows you to just like be free and naughty and have communication of what the hell is going on with your other person.
And it might be good to use it even if you're with someone, like maybe they're in the bathroom and you're in the room, and even though you're together, that is that like a long distance, that within the same space you can play with communicating. So just to add variety, if you've been tired of like being face to face, that within the same apartment, you can create this kind of like, you're there, I'm here, and we're just fingering our phones.
I sent nudes to a partner that was like in another room, and I was just like, "Here's a boob." And it's like, they just like see, they're like, "What did you just say?"
I also loved that I had quite a few partners where we only ever were intimate over Snapchat. Like I had like 3 people who we like matched and weren't in the same place or for whatever reason. So Snapchat provided kind of a container because you can both send video and pictures, and then you can text in between. And there are these limits around keeping the images and all of that. And I loved using it as an exploration of like what our limits were with each other. And sometimes I would just send them, like when you get that Snapchat notification, it just says Claire sent you a video or a picture or whatever. They don't know what that's going to be. So sometimes that's my salad when I'm out to lunch, and sometimes that's my boob. And like kind of the unexpectedness of that was especially fun for people that I was like developing a relationship with, of like teasing over distance. And actually there's someone who became like a long time, like we had like a Snapchat sex relationship for over the course of like a year. And he like supported we've become friends since then. And he supported the pre-sale campaign of my book. And like, there was like this really great line of being able to set and reestablish boundaries with it that was really helpful for me at the time. And like there is definitely like you can accidentally send it. Like there's an easy way to send pictures to multiple people on Snapchat. So there is, like, I saw somebody that said they posted it on Instagram to their story by accident. So there is a little risk of that. That it,
come say hi.
Can be tricky.
So Robin suggests Signal because it now has a disappear after read setting.
Oh, and a nonprofit.
And
Yes. Do that instead. Use all the tips, but put them on a better platform.
Christy feels the same way, prefers Signal to Snapchat because it feels like it has better security settings, at least for now. Yeah. And it's nonprofit, says Robin, and very secure, not owned by a larger media company, which is actually a really unusual and powerful thing for an app like that, I think. So, excellent.
I have to mention that WhatsApp is being purchased, and so their encryption is going to end. So those who are using that to be more private, that's going to end.
Important to know. Thank you.
Yeah, so just for this information, I just got that information.
Oh my God! When you apply for the IRS like stimulus, right? A thing comes up that says this is not private. You're agreeing to be recorded, to be activated. Like that somehow your computer can just start monitoring you, and that you have no choice. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have gotten that.
I haven't gotten that, but I did read the article about how Mark Zuckerberg had a piece of tape over his laptop camera.
I do that.
Yeah, so I think about that a lot. I'm like, what does he know? He knows a lot of things. Like, maybe I should put tape over my laptop camera. Okay.
Oh my God. And the phone, my lover does that. So there's this little tape. They can just go on and
see what you see. Yeah, see what's there. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to what I'm calling mini porn, which is really videos that you're making. And I got this amazing tip for back and forth videos from somebody that I have done that with, and it was wonderful. Very, very skilled at this. And he said, if you go back and forth, you can feature their video in your response. So if you have a couple of phones, or if you have 2 devices, if you have a laptop and a phone, you can take a video of you watching their video and touching yourself.
That's next level.
That's cool.
I know.
Layers.
I thought that was brilliant.
That's great.
I thought that was brilliant. And then they and Robin both suggested that you try requesting that your partner touch themselves in a particular way. Or if you've agreed on a dom-sub dynamic, you can demand that they touch themselves in a particular way. And we talked about this in the video show about skin hunger, Tiana. They suggest that you try touching yourself in ways that are not part of your traditional masturbation repertoire.
Yes, definitely. Mixing it up, trying a new position, trying a different hand, a different toy, or adding a toy if you've never used a toy. Yeah.
Any other ideas about making videos?
Lighting is important.
Lighting. I'm gonna get that light, Tiana.
Coconut oil.
Depends on where.
It depends on where, but you know, like over large, you know, body. Makes everything look good.
Specifically, Tiana, do you recommend that ring light?
I do love my ring light. A selfie stick is also great. I tried my ring light as a selfie stick, did not work as well. So the two are not the same. But yes, definitely. I love my ring light. I started my OnlyFans because I was like, okay, I could do this now. Let's go.
Buying one. Which one do you recommend, Tiana? Which one do you have? Is it like
one that my friend Amanda used, and I fell in love with hers and the angles that she was doing. So it was like $45 on Amazon. It's just like called ring light. I can totally send you the link.
Can you put the link in the chat, Tiana, for everybody?
Yes, I can. I have to do it on James's phone.
I feel like we're all thinking about like right now, just because we're all on these video conferences and stuff so often, like lighting. Like my partner was like helping me set up the lighting for this tonight, and like I'm like, I need a freaking ring light just to converse with people now. But like it can also have some great benefits for other aspects of your life.
I totally want one, and I don't know where to get one in Bali.
Yeah, but you have good lighting. I don't know where you always stand, Lila, but you have like it's always like good.
I have great lighting
like,
at 10 a.m. on a Thursday, which is when I'm doing this show.
Yeah.
Fair.
This is 11 o'clock New York lighting, and
not in the evening. No good lighting in the evening. Any other tips on making videos?
Have fun with it, be playful, be silly, you know, like you don't have to be mega sex kitten rah, you know, like just be you know, like enjoy it, and that is the sexiness of it all. Like don't think you have to be a porn star, get those porn angles, like just be yourself, be authentic. Like that's really what they want to connect with.
Yeah,
totally. I'm looking.
You can blindfold yourself to do a video. Sorry, Lila. Yeah, so then you're not, because to know that someone's looking, there is a little bit of a performative aspect. So if you really want to drop into the body, blocking one sense then really heightens the other, and the person can really experience you and what you look like, which may not look like the typical sexy thing. It might be some like Animal Planet stuff. So. Like, you know, like we make some faces when we're really turned on in that like raw space. It may, so blindfolding, but watch out because you might fall and it could be like a good fail.
That's that playfulness.
Injury.
Robin's recommending a camera or phone holder. So there's a selfie stick, but there's also tripods made for phones. I'm about to get one called Pivo that actually follows you. And so if you got that, you could actually move around and the video would follow you.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really good. I want the link for that. I need to get some.
All this I'm going to have home recording studios.
I'm pretty sure it's getpivo.com, something like that.
Getpivo.
And then Robin also says a laptop is nice because you can tile the screen without worrying about it falling. or changing position.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's a good.
Phones have better camera though. Like I'm now using my phone to the laptop camera sometimes unless you have a fancy camera.
Yeah. And then you can also, Robin suggests, think of it like a cinematographer, right? It's a different kind of intimacy. You can do close-ups of your face and other things, other parts. You can do wide shots. You can tease with the camera. You can show your inner thigh. You can show your shoulder. You know, you can really control the framing, which I love. I love that. Let's talk about my favorite. Let's talk about live video sex.
Meow, meow.
Same thing goes for the tripod situation. If you use a laptop or you use a phone tripod, you can have your hands free. Consider a toy operated by your partner. This is something I've never done, but they have remote vibrators now. So there can be a direct, instant stimulus and response. Praise them. Tell them when something they do turns you on. And tell them what's happening in your body that they cannot see. Tell them about the chills. Tell them about the tingles. Tell them about the butterfly flutters of your pussy. Tell them all of those things that happen. Maybe you can include sensation play. Hot and cold, wax, but make sure the wax is safe for your body. It has to be a very special kind of wax to be safe. Flogger, you know, self-flogging. Pinwheel is my favorite. A pinwheel is the most interesting, I think, and least expensive sex toy. It is actually a neurological tool, and it's to check reflexes. It's the real word for it, the real term for it is a Wartenberg wheel, and you can get it on Amazon for like $6. And you can get them with 1 wheel, 3 wheels, 5 wheels, 7 wheels. Spiky and surprising, and I love sensation play. It's my favorite kink.
Yes, sensation play.
Robin suggested that you position the cam far enough away to see your entire body lying down at a certain point, maybe at a later point, and that people who have penises might want to do a profile lying down with a full body view. So you can see the mountain. They also suggest doing a close-up, for instance, putting the laptop between your legs. So an extreme close-up.
Pixels.
And then you try doing a frame with no genitals at some point, and that is watching the arousal on your face, because I find that incredibly sexy.
I mean,
what else you got?
I've not had very much video sex, but the hottest video sex I ever had, we only showed our faces. We never saw anything else. We were only seeing what was happening with each other's faces. And it was like not being able to see, but being able to hear and having all of the other things was actually amazing. And can also be like it's simultaneously, I feel like, more vulnerable in some ways, and then also a little bit safer in other ways. So like video sex doesn't have to be crazy, crazy explicit.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tapping into what this is for me, where the blueprints are so good, tapping into what is your style of turn on. Like, what is it? It may be eye gazing. It literally may be that, or it may be just silence, you know, or maybe play, or maybe more fun, or maybe, I don't know, dressing yourself up in bunnies. That, like Tiana said, you don't have to be this traditional, like there is a stereotypical sometimes of what sex is and turn on is, and that can translate into these mediums. So really finding what turns you on, like, you know, and what does that look like? That it could be diapers. Funny diapers.
I think sometimes, there's one video that someone sent me years ago, and it really holds dear to my parts. And part of it was definitely explaining what sensations were. But sometimes, even if you kind of see it happening, her like saying it, I don't know why that made it way hotter. Like, oh my God, our breasts are engorging. You can see our breasts engorging. Oh my God, I squirted and you see it squirting. I'm like, I see it, but something about you saying it just made it way hotter.
Yeah, vibration.
The low voice and the slow talking and all of that stuff we talked about earlier.
Yeah, virtual play parties are weird for me because that's how I started before going to real play parties. So it's almost like a regression to go to a virtual play party now that I've been to like real ones. But the ones that I've been to in during the quarantine have actually not been that great. So they're either like they're play parties, but then we're just talking, like having intimate conversations like how we are now, and then maybe we're just in naughtier outfits, having these kind of conversations, but no one's actually doing any kind of sexual activity with each other.
Really?
And then I've gone to ones where the people were kind of on display and you just kind of watch them, and it's more just like a live camming show. So
Okay.
I realize that it depends on the platform that the play party is being like used on. And that kind of sets the tone of like what is going to happen and also how it's curated. So I've again haven't been to many. I've only been to 3 now in the past like 2 months. And they were not my favorites. I just was kind of seeing I only went to them to see what they were about and what was happening. But I was just like, not my cup of tea. So yeah, they're not really, they don't really do it for me, actually.
Yeah. I also really, I feel very concerned about privacy issues with virtual sex parties because I really, you can't control anybody's screenshots.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah, and even if the place, like the hosts do set guidelines and boundaries of respect people's privacies, don't record, you can't control that. There's no way of knowing, it's totally just of like trust of the community and, people, but so it's then it just is up to your risk profile, like how comfortable you are with putting yourself out there and, just trusting your community. So yeah, it's really just personal discretion really at the end of the day, because there's no safe way of protecting people, even as a host, even if you have the best intentions.
Definitely.
So that's major for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. And last, let's talk about cybering, because I didn't know anything about cybering and I got a primer on it yesterday from Robin. And here are the things that I distilled from that primer. There's a lot in that world and a lot of protocols and there's a lot. But I'm going to characterize cybering, in my understanding, having had one primer on it, that that it is characterized largely by an element of fantasy. So it can be totally anonymous. It can be pseudonymous. People are often using pseudonyms, or it can be an avatar, which could be a celebrity or could be some sort of supercharged version of yourself. It's fantasy role play using mainly a verbal medium, mainly a chat room kind of medium. So it can be like writing erotic fantasy, like Sammy was talking about earlier. And you're writing it sometimes together. Sometimes it's the solo author, sometimes it's a co-created experience. And you can write in 1st, 2nd, or 3rd person. So it becomes very much a storytelling medium. I think this is really interesting because, and a lot of these mediums help with edging, right? So you are getting close, but then you're waiting for the next stimulus. So you go, and I think that's really delightful. You go back and forth between writing and pleasuring yourself. Robin also said that there is sometimes a dungeon master and player scenario. So the dungeon master would take control of the story, would create the environment, would set up the scenario, and would sometimes not even be involved as a major character, but is doing that in service, creating the story and the scenario and the environment in service of the player. I know, really interesting, right?
I've done this. Oh my God. Like a long time ago, like in the late 90s or early 2000s. It's great. It's great.
Yeah. People are still doing it.
Yeah. It's awesome. That's fantastic. I'm like, oh. You should keep doing it. The avatars are great. It makes it something with the communication with the avatar. I don't know, it makes everything a little more potent. It's interesting.
Yeah. And there's a thing about this where you're really meeting people's fantasy selves. And so you don't know who they are actually. And you might be cybering with someone of a different gender than the gender that they say, you know, so it's really a kind of opportunity to take on an avatar, and also to have a kind of people who have anonymous sex fantasies. This can fulfill that because you really don't know who you're talking to. You really don't know who you're talking to. And one of the things that they suggested that you talk about in the beginning when you're setting up, when you're creating your container, is disconnects. Will you sign off right after everyone climaxes, which is apparently called a one shot? Or will you stay and chat and hang after that? And they put some of the platforms in the chat because somebody asked about them earlier, but the platforms that they mentioned to me are Second Life, F-List, which is fetish oriented, Discord, and IMVU. Although there are plenty of people who cyber on messaging platforms like Signal. Sure, it's happening on Facebook too.
Totally.
I'm feeling a little salty towards Facebook at the moment because I posted about this show and they were like, this goes against our guidelines.
Oh my God,
trying to
marketing this book anywhere.
Yeah.
Like Instagram has turned down every single ad I've created about this book because it thinks I'm advertising dating services.
Yeah.
So,
can you put a piece of tape?
Well, it's not even the word fuck.
UCK?
It's that it is pulling that it thinks that I'm advertising a dating service, which has a different level of regulation. And so if there's any implication around dating with Facebook right now, they have a whole nother set of regulations in terms of promotion, which is so like, I'm trying to be empathetic and thinking that at some level it's coming from a good place of protecting people, but like, I just don't think it is. I think it's just fucking over people. So I feel you.
Yeah. And they hide you in the algorithm.
Yeah.
They don't let you receive the traffic. Also, like I try to put sex then with like a little Latin E or something, but try like sex coach anything. And I haven't gotten that, but I know a lot of pages get shut down. Just regular sexuality coaches that are just posting really conscious content. It's not even like anything
raunchy,
like
explicit.
Who says what's inappropriate? Yeah, or even it's. But then I see some videos of people like doing twerking videos in a thong and like the angle, and I'm like, that account doesn't say sex, but it is. So it's a weird kind of double standard.
Yeah, what I've been doing is similar to what you've been doing. I always write S and with an ampersand, S and X. I do that for any word that I think they might flag.
Yeah, we have a list. I can send it to you from the coach community, just all the words not to use. I still use them, like erotic and sex and sexuality, like all of that. Facebook and Instagram will find a way to not let your content be as public. I don't know what the specifics is when in technology, but they're fucking with us.
Yeah, let's be talking about that after the show. So it is time to wind up the broadcast part of the show and begin the hang. And so I wanted to invite any announcements. Claire, please tell us where we can find your book,
so
your memoir.
Any platform that sells books, the ones I recommend are indiebound.org or bookshop.com that are then you're buying it from an indie bookstore, and the paperback comes out next Friday. The ebook you can also buy from your indie bookstore, but you can also get it on Amazon. You do have to use the asterisk in fuck, or you will find some weird shit if you just search finding fuck ads. It doesn't have SEO yet, but I have all that information on my website, which is claremarieedgeman.com. No I in Claire. I'll throw the link in the chat, but I have like my recommended, like my favorite indie bookstores where I'm suggesting people buy it from, just because I know they're ethically shipping right now. I delayed the paperback promotion of it because I didn't want it to come from Amazon. Like if Amazon's your jam and you want to order from Amazon, great. But if you can support your local indie bookstore that is, you know, safely packing and taking care of their employees right now, like that's where I would most like people to purchase the book from. So I'll throw the link in there. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. I love that. Put that link in the chat. And then Tiana, can we hear about your upcoming events? You have some Past the Porn events happening?
Yes, I have 3 events coming up. One is Past the Porn. It's a responsible curated porn viewing that we do every Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll then also do a sex positive and conscious like performance. And then we follow that up with an interview with people in the porn industry or adjacent to that, just like sex workers or people that like we had an episode about ecosexuality. So we interviewed someone that, you know, identified as an ecosexual and what that meant to them. And then we have a discussion about all the things that we saw and what we enjoyed, what we didn't enjoy, you know, what interested us, what surprised us. So that's always really exciting. It's about an hour and a half long for that program. And you can get that from my Instagram at glitosaurus.rex. I also have a conference coming up called Love Thyself, Better Thyself. We're going to be talking about responsibility and shame. And shame comes from all different places. So our porn shame, our queer shame, our sexuality shame, you know, our responsibility with being dominant, our responsibility with, you know, just being a conscientious person in this in this world. So we're really excited about the speakers that are going to be doing that. That's going to be May 10th. And then May 16th, again, Past the Porn team of Boss Babes, we're going to be doing a 24-hour responsible porn film festival. So just like ongoing streaming porn. It's going to be a wide variety, all the different categories. We're like bringing in different responsible porn companies that are taking over 2 hours at a time. So that's really exciting to put all of that together. And each of the companies are going to have a charity that they want to support. So all the proceeds go to the charity that company is advocating for. So we're very excited for that. All on my Instagram, glitosaurus.rex.
I just put the link in the chat.
Oh, thank you, babe.
Leidy, can you share about your Erotic Blueprint coaching and your sex and life coaching?
Yes, so I decided to go live for 21 days straight, and just to really bring awareness to sex, because I really think it's the sexiest and juiciest way to reach awakening. So I'm going to be going live and just talking about all things sex and how to really raise our vibrations to there. So if you want to join me there. And once a month, I'm doing a complaint-free day giveaway where, you know, you take a day not to complain, you tell me about it, and I'm giving out 2 to 3 sessions, packages, just for being willing to have a complaint-free day with your family, your friends, whatever, just to like take a break. So I'm honoring people that are willing to be a little light in this time. So I'm doing a giveaway every month. Yeah. And you can find me at Leidy Dahiana Coaching. I switch all of them. So everything is Leidy Dahiana or Leidy Dahiana Coaching. So
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Attitude, gratitude.
And
I didn't hear you, James. Sorry.
Attitude of gratitude.
Yeah, totally.
And I'll close out by sharing that you can find all things horizontal on horizontalwithlila.com. And I'm going to be leading a platonic connection event, The Art of Trust. Oh my gosh, frog in my throat. Excuse me. Hello. The Art of Trust in the virtual intimacy retreat this weekend, which is May 8th through 10th. And there are probably 30 or 37 or something like this offerings, workshops, ways that you can be virtually intimate. Some of them are sexual, some of them are sensual, some of them are more community oriented, and some of them are self-love. And I'm really excited about participating in it and leading in it. And I would love to drop the link in, but I'm having some trouble with my technology. So if you go to my Instagram, Horizontal with Lila, it's in my bio, the virtual intimacy retreat. Thank you for joining. We're going to keep hanging on the live broadcast, which is why you should show up live. Mwah, 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 mwah.
Yeah.
Let me figure out how to end the broadcast on the phone. I'm not sure I know how to do it.
It's still recording.
This is amazing. Love you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, Lila. Okay, she's done.
I think we're still recording.
I think
somehow,
we're still
yes.
on somehow.
I think
No, this is
We should be careful.
vulnerable moment.
Yeah, I'm trying to end the live.
I'm gonna jump off, guys. I have to use the bathroom.
Really love you.
Sasha.
Take
care.
Bye. Good to see you.
Bye. Such a pleasure. I don't know, Claire. Do you want to check the chat? I feel like
No.
if Lila's here,
Someone's throwing up Lila's links,
if there was
which is
anything.
awesome. And I feel like
Awesome.
she's back in somehow in terms of ending the recording, but we're still recording, I think. Hey.
You are.
Yay.
And
Hi.
I'm trying to figure out how to end the broadcast on my phone, and I don't know how, so I'm going to try and sign in on the computer again.
Yeah. Should we just sign
off and sign back in?
I
might have to
be
out anyway because
let's play games.
We're old people. We go to bed at like 10. So
we can all sign out if we like.
Thank you for including me in this, you wonderful
It's
human.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for your expertise.
Lovely to meet you. Mwah, mwah,
Claire,
mwah.
nice meeting you. You're awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I'll stick around if you can find a way to turn it off, and then if you want to chat a little bit.
Because I know how to do it there, and then let's hang. Yeah, I would love that.
Okay.
Oh man, technology, BBs, technology.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts. The connectivity issues hurt.
Yeah. It's a patience builder, definitely.
Yeah, I am always concerned that people will feel disconnected from me when that happens, and that I will lose them, and that they will feel, in a way, left. You know?
I feel that if you have a co-host,
Right.
like you've been doing, that has permission to continue and like catch you up, that's been successful when it's happened.
Yeah.
And
Thank goodness I've done that. And I sent them my notes.
Yeah. Yeah. Claire was mega. She was like, I have Lila's notes. She was like, okay,
so there's no
fantastic.
button, Lila, that's red on yours right now
I
that
also
you can
think
hit? Is that not a button that you have?
It's a button, but it won't do anything when I hit it.
Got it. That sounds like a bug.
Don't know what to do about that,
Yeah.
babies. But I am
Let's see.
signing in on the computer.
It's in their best interest to take a look at that because we're broadcasting on their platform about the limitations of their platform.
But you're right. I think, you know what, I'm gonna just try signing off and then seeing if that somehow helps Lila, and then maybe she can call me or something. Robin, I don't know you,
Likewise,
but
yeah.
nice meeting you, and we're here live. So buenas noches, and I'll see if I've just signed back in or something like that.
Do you want me to cam down, Lila, and not have all of us cam down and see if that gives you your feedback, or do you think that logging on your desktop will
Let's
do it?
cam down. It won't end the broadcast, but it will at least go blank.
Yeah, it's just we're gonna lose everyone who's here for the
Yeah, I
hangout
don't
afterwards.
want
So
to lose that, but I am unable to get in on the computer, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
do you
wait,
want to message me?
Wait.
Ooh, ooh.